Do we learn more from failure or success? I'll bet you $1,000 that your answer to that question is exactly the same answer as mine. But why? Why is that our resounding response? Well, as you could probably guess, I've got thoughts. Let's get into it. In this video, I'm not only going to reveal who just won that bet, but I'm also going to share with you the why behind that answer by sharing a story of perhaps my most embarrassing professional failure. So stay tuned, if anything, just so you can feel better about yourself. Because after you hear about the massive mistake that I made, trust me, you'll know that you're doing just fine. All right, so first let's settle up. Was your response to that question about failure versus success failure? Yup, mine too. I told you. You can transfer your $1,000 to my Venmo account in the link below. I'm just kidding. You don't have to pay me. But I do strongly believe that we learn much more from failure than success. But why? I strongly believe that we learn more from failure versus success because of the emotional binding that ties our memory to that experience, that helps the knowledge that we gain to become stickier and actually stay with us. Success inspires emotional energy as well, but it's usually that feel-good emotional energy like gratitude, like joy, exuberance, excitement. But failure is that more difficult emotional energy like embarrassment, like anger, like frustration or despair. And it's that really strong, very difficult energy that sticks with us. I'm sure if you can remember your biggest failure, those feelings begin to come back, right? And it's typically the type of feeling that we don't ever want to experience again. And so what is it that I need to learn? What do I need to take away from this such that I don't have this feeling anymore? I really think it's that emotional energy that really helps us to gain the learning, the knowledge, because it's our strive to avoid needing to feel that difficulty again. Speaking of emotion that we don't want to experience ever again, I want to share with you a story about perhaps one of my biggest professional failures. So if you didn't know, I'm a chemical engineer by trade, and I spent almost 15 years working in more traditional roles of corporate America, and it was all in the consumer packaged goods industry. And my very first role, my first 4.5 years, I was working at a consumer packaged goods company, formulating and designing shampoo, as well as defining processes to scale that shampoo up. So moving from making just like a small beaker's worth of experimental shampoo to designing the process required to make 3 tons of that exact same shampoo. And one of my early projects was on a liquid crystal shampoo technology that was targeted for those with color-treated hair. Now, I'm not gonna geek out too much on this because it gets a little bit esoteric, but color-treated hair actually has a different surface energy. And it's very challenging for materials like silicone, highly conditioning materials to remain on the surface of that hair because of the hydrophilicity of the hair surface. Maybe I am geeking out too much, but it excites me. Anyhow, we were designing a formulation that had a really complex polymer surfactant in it that changed the surface chemistry of color-treated hair that would allow conditioning elements like silicone to actually remain on the hair. So once consumers used the shampoo, the hair felt a lot better than other shampoos they might have used. But that polymer surfactant mix that we created was very, very powerful and very challenging to process because it was a really high charge density polymer that was either positively or negatively charged, and then a surfactant that carried a different charge. And so they really liked each other, and so it made the processing really complex. So I had scaled a process in our pilot lab to make about 100 pounds of this shampoo. And it was working really, really well. And it was time to go to the plant and actually do an experiment on a manufacturing scale shampoo batch reactor. And so I had the process all down, went through creating the shampoo. We were getting to, pump the shampoo out, put it into our big vats of experimental product. And once we got to clean out, we started to, remove the piping and remove like the filters and everything. And there was this really nasty pink gunk everywhere in the system. Real sticky mess. And it was actually coacervate. So it was the combination of that polymer and that surfactant that it reacted with the steam that we used to clean it, and then binded with the stainless steel of all the piping, the tank, the filters, the gaskets, everything. It was a hot mess. And it was the most challenging, probably most embarrassing thing that had happened, because the technicians, as they're pulling out screens, they're looking up at me like, what is this? Something they'd never seen before. And I remember seeing it in the pilot lab, but I thought I had managed and changed the process to mitigate it. But it just happened at a different scale, that the risk of that was a lot greater. It took many, many hours to clean that shampoo out. We had to go through many different shampoo sequences. I had to communicate the failure to the plant manager, as well as my manager, and then the manager about 2 levels up from that. So this is going up VP president level that this has happened, because it resulted in downtime. They had to stop production. Bottles that needed to get shipped out weren't getting made, all because of the process that I designed that it failed miserably. Yeah, that's a failure that I never ever wanted to experience again. And so because of that, I had to strive to understand what happened. Why did this coacervate form? How do I need to change the process such that this doesn't happen again? And you better believe I learned really fast and really well on how to make liquid crystal shampoo technology. And it was because of that failure. By the way, are you getting value from this, or at least enjoyment of hearing about my failure? Then make sure you subscribe. I drop videos like this all the time to give you value, encouragement, inspiration to know you're doing great. So make sure you subscribe right now and make sure you get these videos every time they drop. All right, let's get back into it. Though failures like that can invite really strong and in-depth learning, let's not forget about success and what success can teach us. There is absolutely still learning to be gleaned when we're feeling or experiencing a lot of success. I have a friend and a colleague who uses this term called initiative autopsy. Any initiative that's going on in her business, after it's completed, and usually after it hasn't been successful, she likes for the team to go through an autopsy to understand what happened, why did it happen, what did we learn from it, and what do we need to put in place such that we don't have those same mistakes again. I love that concept. And I think that same type of concept can be applied when we are experiencing success. What are we doing? What's working? And why do we think it's working so well? And then how do we take that learning to elevate and even have more success moving forward? I think there's great value in not only having a retrospective on things that haven't gone well or failures that we experience, but also when we are experiencing success, when we're having that joy, that excitement, that feeling that we want to keep having. We'll learn, why are things going so well? What's working well and why? So that you can elevate and expand upon that moving forward. Speaking of learning from failure, I got something else for you to watch. So I actually have another video called How to Learn from Failure. And it gets even more into tactics, strategies that you can use and employ to learn from even your greatest failures. There's nothing like a great YouTube binge fest, right? So go ahead and click the link. Check out that video. I want to make sure you have the data, the insights, and the research to accelerate your growth through even your greatest change challenges and change failures. I'm Cassandra Worthy, and until we meet again, keep growing and keep rocking.